Hey, Nick. Okay, so we can begin. Welcome, everybody, to this new webinar series called the Price Action Trading Series. And what we're going to do in this series, as you probably guess, is to really kind of teach you how to trade price action. And the reason that I put together this series here is because I've been looking at a lot of emails that have been coming in from our members to do with our own community. And I've been also sort of looking at various forums to see what some of the most commonly asked questions are around trading, and also to see where a lot of traders tend to be getting it wrong. So what we wanted to do in conjunction with FX Street here is put together sort of like a definitive series that you guys can, and girls, can come to at your leisure and really learn about price action and how to approach the markets. Because ultimately, if you build everything off of price action, so whether you add indicators to it later, whether you trade fundamentals, whatever it is that you do, if you can understand price action, what price action is and how to trade it, then you're going to put yourself in a very, very good position to be profitable in the long run. Whereas if you try and do one of these things without understanding what price action is, then you're probably going to come unstuck, after not so long. Because what you'll do is you'll have let's say, for example, you trade a fundamental idea, which we do a lot. If you kind of just jump into the markets without understanding where best to sort of time your entry, so to speak, not that you need to be right on every single one, but if you're sort of just jumping in willy-nilly and not having a proper stop in place and not understanding the dynamics of the markets, then you're going to, even if you have the right fundamental idea, you're never going to be around long enough to be able to take advantage of it. By the same token, if you're trading, with technical indicators, like maybe some sort of a moving average crossover system or something like that, which I've never understood, to be honest with you. I've never really seen that they work so well. But anyway, if you decided to do that, and again, you did it blindly, your results would be nowhere near as great as they would be if you were willing to add some price action into it and sort of understand what the chart is telling you. Okay, so that's what this series is all about. And hopefully by the end of it, you're really going to have some good information about how to go about trading price action. So how to get the most out of today and every day when you're on webinars is please make sure that you've turned off things that are operating in the background. So email systems, Facebook, Skype, all of that kind of good stuff. Just listen to my voice for the next 40 minutes, and I promise you, you will not regret it. Okay? Now, when we're going into this series, I want you to remember that this is a marathon, okay, and it's not a sprint. There are no prizes for the person to finish the course the quickest. So if you find that, excuse me, I thought there was a question. No. Okay, so there are no prizes for the person that finishes quickest. Ultimately, you need to make sure that you understand the content first and foremost. And once you understand the content, then you can kind of move on to the next webinar and the next webinar and the next webinar. And that's what we're going to, as I said, it's a series. So it's not just one. So don't rush through it and try and get to the markets as quickly as possible, because oftentimes a person that does that is a person that ends up losing a little bit of money. So what we're going to cover across the series, we're going to cover the trading foundations, core technical analysis. We will give you trading strategies as well. Absolutely, that's what we're going to do. Risk, we're going to talk about risk management and how you can grow your accounts. And we're going to talk about professional trading as well. So not just sorry, a question has come in, wrong webinar. What do you mean, Dre? If you could maybe elaborate on that. So then we're going to talk to you about professional trading. So taking it from a level of just sort of taking random trades in the market, not really knowing what you're doing, to having an absolute plan for the way that you're going to approach the market so that you can be consistent. So you've got something repeatable. Okay. Over the course of these webinars, we are going to use financial charts, obviously, to illustrate our points and aid the learning process. What price action is all about, ultimately. But we will use, different symbols, different instruments, different time frames, all right, so that we can demonstrate that what we're teaching you can be applied to everything. Now, sometimes people will look at things like this and they'll think, oh, This isn't on the specific pair that I'm trading, so therefore it doesn't work. Or this isn't on the specific time frame that I'm trading, so therefore it doesn't work. It's absolutely not the case. The wonderful thing to do with price action is that ultimately you can apply it to any time frame, to any instrument, to any chart. As long as it's moving, there's a way to read the markets, and that's what we're going to teach you within this course here. Okay? If you have a question, please feel free to post it in the chat box or in the Q&A box. It's meant to be interactive, so please feel free to ask any questions that you would like. Okay, so with that in mind, please sit back, keep an open mind, and of course, enjoy. So price action, how to make money from price movements. That's what we're going to talk about here. The first thing I thought we would do is just really sort of define what price action is and get a little bit of a definition so that we know where we're starting from. Now, there are a few things I'm going to add to this and teach you throughout the course, but if we all come from the same base, then I think it's going to be better for us going forward. Now, I took this from Investopedia. It's relatively close to what I would define price action is. As I said, a few different tweaks there, but anyway. Price action is defined as the movement of a security's price. Price action is encompassed in technical and charts pattern analysis, which attempt to find order in the sometimes seemingly random movement of price. Swings, high and low, tests of resistance, and consolidation are some examples of price action. The candlestick and price bar are important tools for analyzing price action since they help traders visualize the price movement. No two people will analyze every bit of price action in the same way, and that's why a lot of traders find the concept of price action so elusive. Quite literally, price action is everything that a security's price does, and just like every other facet of analysis is purely subjective. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what price action is. What I would add to that, or the way that I would sort of describe it from my perspective, is price action is a way of looking at the charts and looking at the price bars to look at what's happened in the past. Okay, so to identify repeatable patterns that have taken place in the past that you can apply to the current trading environment to be able to identify high probability trading setups. That might be candlestick formation patterns. So if you like, your bullish engulfing patterns, your bearish engulfing patterns, your shooting stars, your spinning tops, your hammer bottoms, all of this kind of a thing. If you like that, you can use that to apply it to the chart. If you're one of the people that don't like the individual candles, but perhaps you like chart patterns, so things like 1, 2, 3 reversals, head and shoulders, flag patterns, wedges, etc. That, to me, I would also consider that to be price action, because for me, price action is everything that's on the chart, all right, that will help you make a decision about the way that you're going to take a trade. So you're looking at things that have taken place in the past, the way the price has reacted to certain locations, the different types of patterns that have yielded good results in the past, and you try and apply it to the current trading environment. All right, so that's what price action is. It doesn't really take into account, the fundamentals or anything like that. Although if you do it properly and you trade in the right locations, you'll often find that actually you're trading in the direction of the market sentiment and the fundamentals in any case, even if you don't know it. Okay. Now, at that last line there, it says that it's quite subjective. And I agree to an extent with this. We can put rules around it. We can wrap rules around your trading system and everything. But in terms of identifying the charts, patterns, looking at the locations, it is a little bit more, well, it's as much an art as it is a science. All right. So I know that there are people out there that want to create trading robots and create these like 1, 2, 3 systems, step-by-step systems that you follow and you get the same result every time, and you just really don't need to switch on or engage your brain at all. And whilst there may be people out there that are able to achieve it, from my perspective, trading has always been as much an art as it is a science. So something that you kind of need to have experience with and you need to get good at it. So even though I'm going to give you a fantastic system and approach to trading the market through this series here, you still need to put in the work and effort to really understand the dynamics of the market and to really understand how to trade the system. All right. There's a famous quote by Sun Tzu who says, "He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight." And trading is so very much like that. The person that's going to make money is the one that understands when to engage in the market, when the conditions are right, when they should take a trade, and actually when things aren't quite right, when they should maybe just walk away because, the trading conditions aren't what they should be for you to be able to make money. So really sort of look at that sentence there and own that and internalize that sentence because it's going to help you as a trader. We could change that and say he will win who knows when to trade and when not to trade, right? So successful trading is as much about reading the market conditions and the context of the trade setup as it is about the strategy to enter and exit. If you take every single setup that you see, so every single occurrence of a particular chart pattern without fail, you're going to lose money. If you don't take into account where the market is, what is the location at the market? Is it a resistance point? Is it a support point? What are the dynamics of the markets? Where's the price come from? Where does it look like it's going to? All of this information, even though we aren't fortune tellers, we need to try and anticipate where the market is going to go. And if you don't do that, you're going to lose money. All right. The key to making money from this system, from price action, is listening to the market's pulse, which is why it's better to focus on perhaps, well, I say one pair, that's the wrong word. So perhaps one market to start with and then branch out. All right. So start with the Forex markets, which is what you're doing right now, and then apply it to things like stocks, commodities, et cetera, et cetera. Don't try and throw everything onto your charting platform and pick, trade setups from anywhere and everywhere that you can find it. Because again, you will come unstuck eventually. Moving on. So the market's energy. What I want to help you all understand before we get into the nitty-gritty of the strategy, I know you're going to hate it, but I promise you, if you're not making money right now, this is probably why. All right, you don't understand what the market's energy is. You see, the market has an energy about it, something that we need to learn to understand. Now, unfortunately, it's not something that I can just teach you in this webinar right now and you'll just understand it. It's something that you will learn over time. So by watching the markets, you will start to see, the way the markets interact with different levels, with support and resistance levels, right? And you'll start to look at the markets and look at things like, how quickly is price moving up to a level, because that has an impact, right? If the market is just kind of meandering up to a particular level and then breaks through it and then breaks back down, you can't sit there and wonder why, because really and truly there's been no momentum in the markets. And I see this is a classic mistake that a lot of traders make when they're trading triangles, right? So I don't know if you've seen a triangle pattern in the market, but we'll show you those later anyway. But a triangle pattern, basically you have sort of like the apex, the tip of the triangle, right? And what happens is the way that you trade a triangle is you're looking for a break of that triangle, and you're entering the direction of that break. If the market's moving sideways and isn't really going anywhere, it's going to break the triangle at some point, right? It's going to go through the end of the triangle, even if it goes sideways and doesn't really do anything. That's not a trading setup. That's not a high probability setup getting into the market because the triangle has broken because a certain amount of time has elapsed. The price has done nothing but move sideways, but you've just had candle after candle after candle printed, simply because the time has elapsed. So that's what I mean. You need to kind of look at how the market is approaching various levels to decide how you want to trade that level. Okay. You look at things like, has the market been trying to break the highs for a while now? And hence, could we be in for a reversal? So if it's been knocking on the ceiling, right? And every time it knocks on the ceiling, it just fails to get through it. All right. And then it kind of drops down again and drops down again. And you get some sort of a range forming, if you like. And every time it tries to get to the ceiling, it can't get there. And then the highs are getting lower and lower. And eventually, the base, the support of the pattern that you're looking at cracks, then you know that you're in for a price reversal. However, same situation, if the price is kind of attacking a resistance level and it's hitting the same resistance level again and again and again, but the lows, so every time it retraces, the lows are getting a little bit higher. So buying pressure is coming into the market a little bit sooner and a little bit sooner and a little bit sooner. That's an indication that actually the level isn't going to hold. We're not going to get a price reversal here. We're going to get the price absolutely smashed through the level and give us a wonderful trading setup, a trading setup that we can make money on. Okay? So you look at things like this. How quickly is price moving? Is it grinding in a particular direction? How difficult is it to kind of pick the dominant trend? All of this sort of information is information you need to be asking yourself, and you need to know the answers to before you get into a trade. Because if you don't know the answers to these questions, in reality, you don't know which way the trade is going. Does that make sense to everybody? If you just type a yes or a no there, just to let me know that we're all on the same page. So what we're going to show you during this course is a way to extract money from the markets with extreme accuracy. Okay, or a good deal of accuracy anyway. Having said that, you must understand that trading the way that we're going to show you is a partly discretionary approach to the markets, which means that you're going to have to make your own decisions. It means that you possibly will make mistakes if you interpret a market in the wrong way. But that's all part of the learning process. And the point is, and the fact is that as long as you're willing to put in the effort here and follow this series here and sort of look at the strategies, you're going to be able to make money in the long run, right? If you put in the effort, if you kind of really commit yourself to this process right here. If you're one of these people that likes a little bit of a gamble, you like the excitement, your adrenaline goes when you start to get into the markets, and perhaps you're going to lose money, but it's just my opinion. So that means you can't take every single signal blindly. Okay, you must always look at where the market has come from and hence where it could be going to. Location is extremely important. If you can take trades from levels that make sense, okay, you stand a much better chance of success than if you're just taking trades from the middle of the chart, which is what I was saying to you earlier. Those traders that look at a technical pattern, they find their favorite technical pattern and then they start trading it everywhere and anywhere. And then they wonder why they're losing money. It's because they're not trading from locations that make sense. They're not trading from locations that the rest of the markets are looking at. If they were doing that, then their profitability, their bottom line on their account would be significantly more positive than it is the way that they're trading, right? Because you have to understand that these chart patterns, they are going to present themselves all over the charts. You're going to be able to find bullish engulfing candles, bearish engulfing candles. You're going to find that. You're going to find 1, 2, 3 reversals all over the place. But they're not profitable in isolation. They're only profitable if you trade them from locations that make sense. So if you put context around the market, if you understand what it is that you're trading in, where you believe the price is going to trade to. Okay? So price action principles, things that we really need to understand before we trade it, because part of the secret to trading is really understanding and owning the system that you're trading. If you don't do that, right, if you don't own it, then when you hit a bad patch, you're going to come unstuck. Okay, when you hit a bad patch, you're going to throw it in the bin. You're going to look for the very, very next latest and greatest shiny tool of a trading system. All right, so you need to own these principles right here. When all variables have been taken into account, the end result is price. Right? So what we're saying there is that the price that you see right now is sort of like the sum of all of the traders' opinions in the markets at that moment in time. So that's fair value for the market at the very moment you're looking at the price chart. It doesn't mean that that's not going to change in the next minute or the next second. Okay, but the reason it will change in the next minute or the next second is that someone somewhere on this planet has information that makes them believe that the current price of the market is not fair value. It's not the right price. It should be something else. So if you're looking at the price right now and then it starts to move up, it can only do that if someone is willing to buy it. Right? That's the only way that it can move up. And the person that's selling it doesn't want to sell it at the current price because they think it's a little bit more valuable. That's the way that the market moves up, right? So you have to accept when you're trading price action that what you see on the charts right now is the sum of all of the traders on the planet. It's what they believe at that moment in time, even though it may be that they change their belief, their view in the very next second. At that moment in time, it is what it is. All right? Now, traders, we also need to accept that traders will behave in the same way to price developments as they did or they have before. It's our human nature to experience the same emotions when winning or losing in the market. And it's this very predictable nature of our reactions in the markets, okay, that lead to trading opportunities. Does that make sense? Are you all still with me? You all still alive there? Excellent. So our rules of engagement. This is what you must do to trade price action. All right, this is kind of like our commandments almost. It's not the strategy itself, it's just general principles that we need to accept, that we need to own if we're going to be successful in the long run. It's our job as traders to what? Identify low risk entry points. The risk is the only variable we truly have control over. Yes, we can set profit targets and stuff like that. But the only thing we can truly accept when we get into a trade, because we don't know if the market's going to go and hit our profit target, but the one thing that we must accept is that the market may not hit our profit target, is that the market may stop us out. So we need to quantify our risk, and then we need to accept it. It's our cost of doing business. As traders, we're lucky. We can trade from the comfort of our own home. I'm at my home office right now, sat at my desk. It's lovely. Nice, warm. My wife is in the other room. That's the benefit of being a trader. You can trade anywhere you want. Okay? But we need to learn to follow the rules. We quantify our risk and we accept it. We only trade high probability setups, right? We understand that we have to pay to be in the market. So yes, we have our low cost of entry. We don't have to pay for space or anything like that. We just need to pay for an internet connection. But we may need to pay the market from time to time. They are our losses. So accept your loss. But if you trade the higher probability setups, you're going to put yourself in a position where your losses are going to be significantly less, okay, in both in sort of like in the quantity of your losses and also in the value, than your wins will be. You want to try and have a positive risk reward in every situation, although it's not always, you know, the way that it will be. You're going to find you're going to come out of some trades early because the market is just not trading the way that you expect it to trade, right? But when you get into a trade, you don't want to knowingly get into a trade saying, you know what, I've got a seriously negative risk reward here. I'm going to take the trade anyway. Right? Yes, there are people out there that make money like that. But what we're trying to do right here is we're trying to educate new traders or struggling traders or rookie traders. We're trying to help you guys and girls that are watching this right now actually make money in the markets. And to do that, we need to assume that you're going to be wrong on certain occasions. You're going to make mistakes on certain occasions. So giving you a system where you need to be right 75, 80% of the time, we're setting you up for failure. We don't want to do that. So the system that we're going to teach you, this series right here, we're taking into account the fact that you are actually a new trader or you're a struggling trader. You haven't quite made it yet. Therefore, we need to build rules around the fact that you're not going to be right every single time. All right. That's why when you're getting into a trade, we want to have a positive risk reward. All right. Once you have that, once you've got the rules for this system, which we're going to give you as we progress throughout this, you then need to learn to apply your rules systematically. And finally, never, ever, 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 ever marry a trade. If the trade is going wrong, cut it, get out. We don't want to be holding these stragglers, these things that are pulling us down as traders. We only want to be holding good trades that are doing what we expect it to do. If it's not doing what we expect it to do, there's no harm in coming out of that trade early. Okay, moving your stop up closer to the price, finding another level for it. Does that make sense to everybody? So we use charts for context. The charts help us to put context around our trades and to identify the entry and exit points. The charts tell us a story which lead to trading opportunities, right? That's the way we gain our edge as traders. We identify areas on the chart where we can have a high probability trade, which means that there's more chance of the trade making us money than there is of the trade losing us money. That's what a high probability setup is. Does that mean you're going to be right on every single trade? Absolutely not. Unfortunately, I can't guarantee that for you. But if you follow the rules properly, okay, if you do your due diligence, if you're patient, if you don't trade emotionally, it means you will have more winners than losers. And those winners will be bigger than your losses. Okay, which ultimately what translates into more money in your bank account. Does everybody follow? Okay. So what we need to understand ultimately is a chart is basically a visual representation, as I said earlier, of what has happened, what's taking place in the markets. That's what it is. And price action is what we call the method of approaching the markets to figure out which way it's going. All right. So where can you access your charts? Everybody's got their favorite charting platform. It's very, very much a personal choice, I think. You've got to find one that you're comfortable with, one that makes sense to you, one that gives you all of the tools that you need. Although the fantastic thing about trading price action is that actually you don't need all that many tools. You could actually have a price chart, just the chart itself, and a ruler on your desk and make money. That's how fantastic it is trading price action. That's all you need. Okay? But where can you obtain a good charting or a charting platform from? Typically, it's either going to be from your broker, all right, or companies that provide standalone charts. So most brokers provide something like MT4. I'm not the biggest fan of it, not because it doesn't have enough functionality for what we want to do. I've got a laptop here, I've got a PC here, I've got a number of different things. When I travel, I like to be able to have access to my charts. So I don't want to load MetaTrader on every single platform and then kind of copy across my support and resistance levels from one to another. It doesn't make any sense for me. All right. I use NinjaTrader for my day trading, but for my longer term trading, for my price action trading, I use TradingView. All right. I'm not endorsing this in any way. I just like TradingView because you can view it on your browser and it carries across your settings from one browser to the next, from one computer to the next. So that's just the way that I like to go about trading. Okay. And some brokers also provide their own web charting platforms, which is absolutely fine to use if you want. Okay. So as we progress into the world of price action, the things that we need to remember about the way that we're going to trade and what it is that we're trading is that human beings have a tendency to take a similar action when presented with similar situations. It's this trait that we as traders, we have to exploit. It's what I said earlier. That's why price action works so well, because human beings, the way that we behave hasn't really changed. If we're making money, you want to make more money. You're going to be happy. You're going to be scared of losing the money. If you're taking a loss, most people pray. They don't want to take that loss, so they make stupid decisions based on that. But those stupid decisions are repeatable. They're things that we can see. All right, and that's what price action is. It's trading these repeatable patterns. All right, and that's the primary reason that a chart can be so helpful to us, because it allows us to identify situations where the crowd may act the same way now, the same way in the current markets as it has before. Okay? So the next thing that I want to talk about is something called market condition. Now, we're not going to have time to finish all of this here. So what I might actually do is open up the floor to questions, and then we'll begin this section of the course in the next webinar. How does that sound to you all? Because if I start this now, I'm afraid that I'm not, well, I know that I won't be able to finish it. That much is a fact. And I don't want to kind of have half a webinar hanging in a place where there's no logical progression. So are there any questions from anybody on what you've seen so far, on the approach that we're going to take to trading, on what we're going to teach you throughout this trading series? Because I genuinely believe that this trading series right here, the one that you're watching now, is going to become one of the go-to places to understand and learn about price action. Yes, you can pay for courses out there. You can do all of that. But this one resource right here that you're getting via FX Street that we're putting together for you is going to be your kind of like the one-stop shop as far as price action trading is concerned. We're going to show you everything throughout this course that you need to know to be profitable. So please feel free to post any questions that you may have about the markets. Any live analysis today? That was earlier on this morning, Dre. That was, the live analysis was, oh, I see why you said wrong webinar now. Okay, that was meant to be at 8 o'clock this morning. But unfortunately, FX Street had a couple of issues with power outages and stuff, so they couldn't host the webinar. So that's the reason that there is no live analysis today, unfortunately. But if you head on over to my YouTube channel, I will be posting some stuff throughout the week, so you can get some live analysis that way as well. Is that the reason you asked the wrong webinar? You were expecting the live analysis one. I was a little confused when you posted that, actually, because I was kind of looking at that and I was like, am I presenting a different webinar than what we scheduled? I don't think I am. But yeah. Yeah, you can't see other people. There's quite a few other people on the line, but you can't, unless you're a panelist or a presenter, you can only see yourself. Are we going to give you a strategy? Yes, absolutely. So the first couple of webinars, we're going to be showing you all of the different parts that make up the strategy. So we're going to be teaching you how to identify the market condition, how to identify support and resistance levels, how to go about drawing in a trend line. How do you identify if you're in a trend, if the market is reversing? All of that kind of stuff, all of the foundational stuff, we're going to give that to you in the beginning, okay, so that you really, really, really understand what it is that we're doing. So by the time we give you the strategy, we've already given you a fantastic education in what it is that you need to know to be able to trade the strategy profitably. Because the problem is that most traders are only looking for the strategy. They're looking for this sort of like this quick win, to make money right now. And what they never do is they never sit down to really learn the fundamentals, the foundations that they need to be successful in the long run. And by not understanding that, they actually kind of extend their learning process. So whereas you could actually, in reality, you could learn how to trade in a few weeks. You need a little bit longer to learn how to control your emotions, but you could learn the technical part of it in a few weeks. What the rookie and retail traders tend to do is they won't look at the foundation stuff, and then they'll be unsuccessful when trading the trading systems. And then their learning process, instead of it being a few weeks or years, or okay, try indeed, right. It then moves on to years, and years and years. And then you find people that have been trading or attempting to trade for like 3, 4, 5, 6, even 10 years. They still can't consistently make money. They still haven't even been through periods where they've consistently made money. And that's because they don't understand the markets. But hopefully we'll be able to give you that education here. And yeah, absolutely, Dre. Yeah, weeks, it can take years. And that's the reason for it. The technical part of learning to trade is actually relatively straightforward. Controlling your emotions, understanding the way the markets move, that can take significantly longer. It took you 4 years, you're 27 now. Excellent. And you profitable now? Outstanding. And do you trade based off of, what do you trade from? Price action or indicator type stuff? What's your favorite approach? You have the recipe there. Technicals, fundamentals, support and resistance. That's actually music to my ears. That's wonderful. It genuinely is. That's exactly where I would like everybody to get to. I'm going to start with teaching people the technicals and the support and resistance stuff. And then later on, once people understand that, then we can get into the fundamentals as well. Because that's absolutely the correct approach to trading. So you shouldn't even be here unless you just like the sound of my voice, because you have everything. There's nothing that you need to learn. Just adapt with the markets when they change. Okay, any other questions? Actually, I guess that's true, Dre. Knowledge is power. You can always learn something new or see a different perspective maybe on things. You're absolutely right, actually. I mean, I still read. I don't read as much. I mean, I read, but not as much. I used to read like a hell of a lot of trading books. Just everything I ever read was a trading book, and that it was literally for that. It wasn't looking for a different strategy or a different approach in the market, because I already have my own approach. I have my own way of making money, but it was just trying to understand people's different takes on things, because if you can understand how other people look at the market, you can be more profitable. You don't have to trade their way, but if you can understand what it is that they're thinking, okay, the other traders on the planet, then you can set yourself up to be more profitable, because you can take advantage of that kind of stuff. We've only got a minute left, but just while we're on that topic, I'm just going to give you a very quick example of this. I've got a friend who at the time was working for, he was at JP Morgan. Okay, at the time we had this conversation. He's since gone on to Deutsche Bank, and what is the Goldman Sachs? Only not in that order. He went to Goldman Sachs and now is ahead of his desk at Deutsche Bank. And we were having a conversation about some analysis, and he threw into the conversation that he's trading Ichimoku clouds. I was like, what in the world do you have that on your chart for? Not that I've got anything against it, but I was just a little bit surprised. And he said, I only use that when I'm trading the yen pairs, because I know that, there's a massive sort of retail market in Japan that trades a lot, and they use the Ichimoku cloud. So I want to know what it is that they're looking at, because it helps me make better trading decisions based on that. Okay, so if he can do that and he trades for these massive institutions, then Dre, you're absolutely right that knowledge is power, and understanding what other people do is ultimately going to make you more profitable in the long run. So that brings us to the end of this webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a bit of an introduction as to what we're going to be doing over the coming months. So please make sure that you stay tuned and pay attention to the next few webinars that we will be holding, because we're going to take you all the way through the process to the way that we trade price action. So thank you very much for watching. FX Street, thank you so much for putting this on, as always. It is much appreciated. You do a great thing for all of the traders out there and for all of the contributors like ourselves. So we look forward to seeing you on the very next webinar. Until then, happy trading, take care, and I'll speak to you soon.